God became human. Welcome to a Christmas daily dose. You know, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I love it when you go out and it's dark out and all the lights are twinkling through the neighborhoods. And Christmas, it reminds us that God's love isn't distant. Rather, God's love is up close and personal. The love of Christmas isn't simply a bunch of happy thoughts or well wishes or Santa Clauses and all that nonsense. No, the love of Christmas got up close and personal with us. The love of Christmas came down. Check this out. 1 John chapter 4, beginning of verse 9, says this. This is how God showed his love among us. He, meaning God, sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Again, 1 John 4, 9 and 10. So love came down. Did you see that? Because of love, Jesus, the perfect Son of God, the divine one, left his place of glory and he came down to the earth that he created. He left the riches of heaven, he became poor. He exchanged a palace for a barn. He gave up a throne for a manger. He walked away from the glorious singing of angels and the sweet aroma of God's glory and his presence. For what? He came down for the sights and the sounds and the smells of common farm animals. He left the presence of his Father, surrounded by perfect love, and he exchanged that for the presence of a world that hated him. But because of love, Jesus came down. This is a Christmas message. Jesus came to the world that he created. Merry Christmas. This is amazing. This is good news. We need to remember and we need to share with others that God's love is not far off. Love is come and love is with us. It speaks of that in Isaiah. Isaiah captures this truth. It's in Isaiah 43, beginning in verse 2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. In verse 4, since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I will give men in exchange for you and people in exchange for your life. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bring your children from the east and gather you from the west. And I believe somebody even just needs to hear that today. Been praying for your children. He will bring them from the east, gather them from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who is called by my name, who I created for my glory, whom I formed and made. Isaiah 43. Check this out. I mean, again, that passage just reminds us that God is close. He knows, he cares. Love came down. It's personal. But check this out. The intensity of God's love displayed through Christmas goes even further. In the Gospel of John, it says this. It says that the Word, meaning Jesus, became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1:14. So Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah, was human, and Jesus was God. And Jesus, God himself, didn't insulate himself from us, from the world. And check this out. Jesus didn't come to this world in some kind of protective bubble like the Pope rides around in when he goes out in public. Anyway, I don't know why that picture came to me, but that's not how Jesus came to this world. Rather, he went all in. Jesus actually put on flesh. God became human. That's incredible. That's Christmas, and that's love. And here's why that all matters. Check it out in Hebrews chapter 2, beginning in verse 16. For surely it is not angels he helps, but Abraham's descendants. In other words, Jesus left heaven for us, for mankind, for people, right? Verse 17 then says, for this reason, in other words, because he left heaven for us, for this reason he had to be made like his brothers, like us in every way, in order that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the service of God, and that he might make atonement for the sins of the people, because he himself suffered when he was tempted. That's because he was in the flesh, right? He put on flesh. Because of that, he is able to help those who are being tempted. That's Hebrews 2, 16 through 18. So look, beloved, love put on flesh. Jesus put on flesh. God put on flesh so that he might fulfill his mission of becoming the perfect sacrifice, making atonement for the sins of men. Jesus didn't run away from us. Instead, Jesus became like us in order to save us. Jesus put on flesh. This is love. But the story isn't over, because Jesus is coming back in his resurrected body, in the flesh. Jesus, up close and personal, in the flesh. He's coming back to once again dwell with us. This time he isn't coming to dwell with us on some kind of broken earth. Rather, Jesus is coming to bring heaven to earth. He's coming that we may now enjoy the dwelling of God, the dwelling with Jesus in the flesh forever. And with that, all I have to say is Merry Christmas.